History is being made today at the World Trade Organization in Geneva, Switzerland. Nigeria's former finance minister, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, takes over as Director General. She's the first woman and first African to occupy this position. She's already promised far-reaching reforms. Well, let's discuss the significance of this appointment with foreign legal analyst Priscilla Bonsu, who's joining us now live from New York. Good morning. It's middle of the night for you in the Big Apple, but thank you very much, Priscilla, for your time. Just first up, overriding question, what is significant about this appointment?
Don, thank you so much for having me. Good morning. So when we talk about Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, we are talking about the first African, the first female, and also the first American to actually lead the World Trade Organization. Her appointment is a great achievement not only for Nigerian women or African women, but for all women around the world. Her appointment means that we must not relent in our fight for gender equality. Instead, we must put in the effort in order to win the fight and to be able to get what we want as women. In fact, Dr. Okonjo-Iweala has been breaking glass ceilings for a very long time now. She was already a trailblazer in Nigeria, where she served the country as a finance minister for 2 consecutive terms. And later became the very first female foreign minister of Nigeria as well. In addition to this, she spent about 25 years at the World Bank, where she ended up becoming a director. And she's also received numerous honors and awards for all of the empowerment work that she has done over the years, and that she's very well known for. And as a woman leader, I think she brings a unique experience, a unique perspective to the table, and a thorough understanding of what it actually takes to achieve that economic and social and political development.
You know, Priscilla, I couldn't miss the fact that she's starting today, the 1st of March, in the first week of March, leading up to next week, Monday, the 8th of March, which is commemorated in many parts of the world as International Women's Day. I mean, I think for women leadership particularly, this is a very good appointment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a great appointment because there aren't too many women, unfortunately, on the international level that get to do these things, that get appointed and actually get considered for these highly prestigious positions. I mean, of course, we have Madame Lagarde for the IMF, of course. But again, like if you compare it to other organizations or even on other levels, it's very rare that you have a woman and then also of African descent actually in a prestigious position, just like the head of the World Trade Organization. So as I stated earlier, she is a trailblazer. She's breaking glass ceilings. She's opening doors that have only been sparingly open, not really open to women. And so I'm positive, and I'm looking positive into the future that in time there will be more women and also more Africans that will be considered for those prestigious positions.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because she's now heading up the World Trade Organization, her appointment coming 2 months after the AU launched the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, if there'll be unrealistic expectations from African leaders in the continent to say, now we have an African at the head of the World Trade Organization, we've got our free trade agreement, hey, do us some favors, can you help us here? I mean, should Africa expect it to do some miracles there?
Well, I think first we have to look at what the expectations are. What exactly is expected of her? So first, I think that Africans will mostly expect a fairer and more equitable regulatory scheme for trade purposes that will allow African countries to fully participate in international trade. In addition, hundreds of millions of people have been lifted out of extreme poverty, but there are still far too many people that have been left behind within and among African countries. So because of that, I think that Africans will also expect her to work on making trade a much more accessible, profitable, and maybe a more inclusive place for the people of Africa. And then lastly, I think it's very likely that African countries will probably expect some efforts regarding the ongoing global pandemic. In other words, the people of the continent will most likely expect her to stress the need of the World Trade Organization to play a role in helping African countries with battling COVID-19. Now, those expectations, I think, are realistic. However, we do have to keep in mind that her primary obligations are not owed to any particular countries or any particular group of countries, but they are owed to the World Trade Organization alone, right? She's the head of the World Trade Organization. And so that means that she has to comply with her duties as the head of the World Trade Organization, and she has to find solutions that suit all of the member states of that organization that are in line with the fundamental idea and the fundamental mission of the World Trade Organization. So it's important to keep the balance between the two interests, but it's certainly not impossible.
Okay, finally and very briefly, you said she's broken before many glass ceilings. This is a groundbreaking appointment. The WTO itself has been sort of in a bit of a slumber, according to some critics. Do you think she will succeed in reforming the organization? It needs some changes, particularly now as we live in the coronavirus pandemic world.
Right. Well, unfortunately, Don, I cannot say that what is awaiting Dr. Okonjo-Iweala will be a piece of cake or an easy task, because as you stated, we have to fast pace or deal with the fact that the World Trade Organization has got to undergo a tremendous change altogether. Its usefulness has been called into question for some time now by many people, and it has been struggling to actually produce meaningful multilateral agreements, which is the actual purpose and the idea of the World Trade Organization, right? Some even say that it has become fairly powerless due to the increasing trading power of certain nations, such as the Republic of China, for example. And it has been without proper leadership since last year, August. And so now we're dealing with a global pandemic and a global recession. So Dr. Okonjo-Iweala will have to tackle all of this, essentially, and breathe new life into this organization and basically restore the fundamental vision and the purpose of the World Trade Organization.
Thank you very much, Priscilla Bonsi, a global legal analyst based in New York, giving us some insights and some of the thoughts as Dr. Okonjo-Iweala assumes the role of Director General of the World Trade Organization, and everybody's hoping she'll breathe some new life into it. It's a historic appointment, being the first woman and the first African ever at the head of the World Trade Organization in Geneva. Now,